Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach. I want to welcome you, Baruch Hashem, to our fifth cycle of our Lunch and Learn learning that we've been doing. We did this at Ironside, and we've been doing this at the Beacon Tower, and now at the Hollandale Tower. You know, it's very, very exciting when you can get something going, when there's Hemshechiyut. You know, this is all thanks to some of the pillars of this Torah learning, which is definitely due to Mendel, from Mendel Law, and also the Dornbush family as they came on board a couple of years ago. So Shashem Vayich Otchem V'Samach Otchem, as we're keeping the Torah learning going, as we're getting into a fifth cycle of learning together. It's very, very exciting because a lot of Torah has been learned together. You know, we've taken different parashiot and dissected them a lot of different ways. You know, you almost have to come up with a lot of different things every year. You can't say the same things. So Baruch Hashem, that we have also get to the point where we can go past the basics. We've already covered the basics. We already went up a couple of levels high. So you can bring some concepts that are on a very high level, and the people in the room can appreciate it, because after 5 years, we got there. So Be'ezat Hashem, that we should have bracha v'atzlacha, that we should continue to learn together, that we should continue to constantly search for life lessons and for God's guidance in the weekly Torah portion, and Shashem v'chotchem v'samach otchem, to always be learning Torah in the middle of the day, not necessarily just in Shabbat or in holidays. This is a great, great effort that people, you know, leave their everyday happenings, especially at this hour, 5:30, and they come to the room and they come and learn with us. Really appreciate it. Also want to give a bracha v'atzlacha and a blessing to Pesi and to Dov that have come and joined us again. What a simcha! You really put a smile on our face. And let's get started. We are right now on Parashat Bereshit. So today, I really, what can you do? Bereshit, right? It's the basic story. It's the beginning, right? We all know our first grade level understanding of Genesis. We understand God created the world, 6 days, the snake, Adam, Chava. We know the basics. But within those basics, within that first grade level understanding of Bereshit, there's a lot that we can learn from today. It's a slight variation of the story that changes everything. In order to get to that point, we have to give a preface. If we go to Perek Aleph, Perek Chav Zayin, Pasuk Chav Zayin, I'm just going to skip to the part where Vayivra Elokim et Adam b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elokim barei oto zachar u'nekeva barei otam. You know what I'll do is I'll read it in Hebrew, and then we'll translate it in English, okay? And then it says, Vayivarech otam Elohim, vayomer lahem Elokim, pru urvu umilu et haaretz v'chivshua, ורדו בדגת הים ובעוף השמיים וכל החיה הרומסת על הארץ. One more pasuk. ויאמר אלוהים, הנה נתתי לכם את כל עשב זורע הזרע אשר על פני כל הארץ, ואת כל העץ אשר בו פרי עץ זורע הזרע לכם, יהיה לאוכלה, ולכל חיית הארץ וכל עוף השמיים וכל רומס הארץ ואשר בו נפש חיה, את כל ירק עשב לאוכלה ויחן, וירא אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד, ויהיה בוקר יום השישי. So we see we are over here on the 6th day. What do we have on the 6th day? God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. And that this man shall rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over the animals and the entire earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created man in his image, in the image of God. Male and female, he created them, so we can rule over the world and everything that's within it. God blessed them and said to them, he's saying to all of his creation, and specifically to Adam and Chava, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea, rule over the birds of the sky, and every living thing that moves on the earth. Hashem gave us that blessing. And God said, Behold, I have given to you all the herbage yielding seed that is on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree that has seed yielding fruit, it shall be yours for food. And to every beast of the earth, and every bird of the sky, and everything that moves on the earth, which within there is a living soul, a green herb is for food. And God saw that he had made, and behold, it was very good. So we see that Hashem created man, and he gave us the power to rule over everything that's on the planet. Okay. That was the beginning. Of course, this is after Hashem created. I skipped all the 5 days of creation, just to let us know that Hashem let us rule over all of creation. So that's the beginning. The next thing is Hashem sets the rules. He tells us what are the rules on this planet. So if we go to Perek Bet, Pasuk Tet Vav, it says over there, ויקח השם אלוקים את האדם, וינחהו בגן עדן לעובדה ולשומרה. ויצב השם אלוקים על האדם לאמור, מכל עץ הגן אכול תאכל, ומעץ הדעת טוב ורע לא תאכל ממנו, כי ביום הוכחה ממנו מות תמות. Let's read, that's it. So let's see. Tet Vav. In English, Hashem took the man and he placed him in the Garden of Eden to work and to guard the Garden of Eden. Hashem commanded Adam, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of knowledge of good and bad you must not eat. For the day you eat, you shall surely die. Okay, those were the rules. You can eat from anything in the garden except for one tree. Now, let's get to the sin, the original sin. It happens that quick. Let's go to Perek Gimel. Yes.
So he gave him a big challenge. He never died.
Right.
He killed him.
Right. Well, in previous classes we know what that means, Mot Yumat, on that day. At the end of the class, I'll give you the 3 different explanations because it's not connected to over here. But later on this lesson, we are going to touch this point. Let's go to the sin. Gimel. Aleph through Zayin. So, what happened? Hashem created man and created the world. Gave us, sovereign over all of creation. He gave us one rule: don't eat from one tree. And then we come to Pasuk Aleph in the 3rd chapter. It says that Adam and Chava were naked and they weren't embarrassed or shamed. They were not ashamed. Rashi tells us that the Nachash was actually witnessing Adam and Chava having relations, and he got jealous. And at that particular time, you should know that there was nothing to be ashamed of. It's Adam and Chava just being natural, the way God made them. So there was nothing to be ashamed of. Also, you should know that the concept of emet and sheker was part of humanity. The concept of emet and sheker, tov vera, was external. You have to understand, tov vera, good and bad, you'd have to eat the tree to understand the concept of good and bad. The only concept that they understood is truth and lies, emet and sheker. So, as the snake is witnessing them, so they said that Nachash haya arum. What does it mean that the snake was also naked? Arum meaning arumumi, meaning chacham. He was very smart. Out of all the animals that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, he was the smartest animal of all. And he tells the woman, after he sees her, he bumps into her in the garden, and he tells her, Hashem said that you can't eat from any of the fruits from the Gan. So he's a little sneaky over here, he's a little tricky. He makes a very broad, general statement. And why does he do that? To start a conversation. This is a great pickup line for anybody who's single and wants to pick up a girl. All you have to do is just start talking. Because once you start talking, you're already talking. So, it's like you don't really need to know the time. A lot of people, they cover their watch and they go to a pretty lady and say, hey, what time is it? Do you have the time? And then she said, oh yeah, she'd be glad to help. 3:30. Oh, since we're talking about the time, and they keep going. That's the first pickup line from Bereshit. So Nachash is telling her, you can't eat from the entire garden. The Isha says, no, let me put you straight. You must have it wrong. Vatoma Isha Nachash, she answers him, Mipri etz hagan nochel, we can eat from all the trees that's in the garden. ומפרי העץ אשר בתוך הגן, אמר אלוקים לא תאכל ממנו ולא תגיעו בו פן תמותון. He says, but there's one tree that's in the center of the garden, in the middle of Gan Eden, that Hashem told us that we can't eat from it and we can't touch it. So we have to stop over here for 1 second. The truth is that God told Adam Rishon that they just can't eat it. Adam Rishon went to his wife and told her, you can't eat from that tree and you can't even touch it. He added that you can't touch it. Hashem didn't say that. He added. Because he added it, her truth was, I can't eat it, I can't touch it. The snake picked up on it. He says, here's my opening. Well, sometimes, as a parent, you might know this, that sometimes when you want your kids not to do something, what do? You put an extra fence on top. Don't eat it because it's spicy, or don't eat it because it's dangerous, or don't touch that because it's dangerous. You can say just don't touch it. But you add something else to give another fence, that's in gader. So I guess Adam Rishon was thinking that way, but he didn't have to. And as a matter of fact, that's not what Hashem said. So because he said that if you eat it and touch it, you will die, then the Nachash said, this is my opening, and he shoves her into the tree. She touches the tree, nothing happened. And here, doubt begins to bubble up. She said, what? I'm not dead. I'm alive. So surely the snake is right. If I didn't die from touching it, I'm not going to die from eating it as well. She's starting to second guess her husband, starting to second guess Hashem's commands. We go to the next pasuk. I told you so. You're not going to die. He says, you know why you're not dying right now? Because Hashem knows something. That the day that you guys are going to eat from that tree, your eyes are going to open up. And you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. In other words, he's giving them the impression that God ate from the tree, and that's why God has all these powers, and he knows what's good and bad. And if you guys eat this from this tree, you'll be just like God. And that's what Hashem doesn't want you to be. He doesn't want you to be like him. יודעים טוב ורע. ותראה האישה כי טוב העץ למאכל וכי תאווה. So that the tree is good and that she desired to eat it. תאווה הוא לעיניים ונחמד העץ להשכיל. ותיקח מפריו ותאכל. She took from it and she ate. ותיתן גם לאישה עמה ויאכל. And she also gave it to her husband and he ate. Now that we have these pesukim underneath our belt, let's start going into the lesson. Now, there's a distinction over here that we have to make. When you go into the pasuk, when the Nachash is now giving the sales pitch, he's trying to convince Chava to see it his way. What does he say in pasuk A? Ki yodeh Elokim ki biyom ochelchem imon nifkechu einechem, that Hashem knows that the day that you eat, your eyes will open up. Ve'item ki Elokim yodeh tov v'ra, and you'll be just like God, knowing good and bad. Now, let's get into the mindset of Adam and Chava. Okay? Let's imagine we are Adam and Chava. They both eat from this fruit. In order to get this godly ability to decipher between good and bad. That was the purpose of it. Like we said before, they had the ability to decipher between sheker ve'emet. between truth and lies. Now they desire to have the ability to decipher between evil and good. Now, after eating from this Etz Hadat Tov Ve'ra, this concept of Tov Ve'ra became a part of the fabric of humankind. They ingested the fruit that is now the result that every single human being since that day has struggled with that. Two forces within their mind, two forces within their body, good, bad, spiritual, physical. Wanting to do the right thing, doing the wrong thing. It all started there. Before it was external. In other words, if you wanted that, you could have chosen to do it. The Yetzer Hara convinced it to say, no, put it inside of you and deal with the Tov Ve'ra, with the good and evil, every single minute, every single second of every day. Why would that be? Why would they choose this option? Amen. Why would they choose to put evil inside of them? Not only that, why would they choose to put it inside of them, knowing that it's certain death? Hashem said, when you eat from this tree, on that day you will die. I mean, you know that there's a death sentence that comes with that bite. So not only is that you're putting your life at risk, but you're also putting in this concept of having evil swim through your veins. What did they see when they said, Kitov ha'etz? It says over here, Pasuk Vav, Vatere ha'isha kitov ha'etz. What's good about it? What's so good about this tree that she felt that all of this, everything that we're doing is worth the risk? So if you look at Rashi, he uses something very interesting. Rashi says, Pasuk Vav, Kitov ha'etz, he says simply, Liyot ke'Elohim. What's so good about this tree? What's good about it is that if I eat from this tree, I can be like God. That's what was so appealing about the tree of knowledge, good and bad. Right? Furthermore, not only are you going to be Liyot ke'Elohim, not only going to be like God, but you're going to Yodeh Tov Ve'ra. You're going to know how to decipher between good and evil. And furthermore, it says over here, Ve'item ke'Elohim, that you'll be like God. It's what the snake was trying to convince them. Remember, the sales pitch of the snake, what does it say? Yotzre olamot. You'll have the power to create worlds. So let's weigh it out on a scale. You're going to be like a God. You'll be able to decipher between good and bad, and you'll be able to create worlds. Adam and Chava said, let's do it. It's worth the risk. Still, it's hard to understand. Because even though that you can have all that, it's still a bit challenging to understand how somebody can take such a risk. So the Arizal begins to open it up for us. The Arizal says that Chet Adam Harishon was Avera Lishma. That it was a sin that was done for the sake of heaven. Now let's just stop here. Is there such a thing of a person doing a sin for the sake of heaven? Is there such a reality that somebody says, I'm going to make a sin in order to, for the sake of heaven? Avera lishma. So, that you're doing a sin, l'shem shamayim. So the Arizal says that's what the Chet of Adam Harishon, but that still needs more explanation. Can't just leave it hanging like that. What we see over here, that they were willing to take a chance of death, a chance of dying, in order to create worlds. Litzor olamot. What does that mean, litzor olamot? To create worlds. The word olam, if you see it, it's actually spelled without a vav. Ayin lamed mem. Olam, the word olam itself, which does mean literally world, but comes from the word ilem, something that is hidden, something that is concealed. And this whole world, the reason why it's called olam is because all of God is concealed within the physical. God is concealed, all the spiritual is concealed within the mundane, within the physical. Our job is to extract the spiritual from the physical, as we've learned many times. So this concealment, this ha'ilem, this hastara, that is part of the fabric of this planet, is the whole idea of shamayim va'aretz. Shamayim represents the spiritual, aretz represents the physical. It's always the physical versus the spiritual. So the spiritual is concealed within the physical. Besides that, there's one other thing over here that we have to mention, that it's the first time that it's ever been exercised in the world, is that this world, this olam, also has bechira chofshit. This world also has free will. You can choose. And the first choice of mankind was a wrong choice. The first choice that Adam and Chava had was the original sin. That also needs a little bit of explanation. That also needs a little bit more of clarifying. So we know we have the power, we have the ability, we have the choice to reveal the spiritual in the physical world or not. Right? We have the free will to do that. It's either we can reveal the spiritual world or not. So we see there's been many generations that did nothing about revealing God's presence in the world, or the ruchaniyut, or the spirituality, or anything that has to do with the olam and the hester that's in the olam. And we saw that in the first 10 generations, until Noach, until Abraham. Those were the first ones that started to actually deal with that. Besides that, it was 10 generations that Hashem says that, I got to press the reset button. Flood. Everything went wrong. So when we see, when Rashi says litzor olamot, what does it mean litzor olamot? What was the Nachash trying to convince the Adam and Chava? He says God created the world with a hester, where the spiritual is hidden in the physical. You have the power to do the same. Why don't you eat from the tree of Etz Hadat Tovera and add to that concealment? Put in hester ala hester. Do ha'ilem on top of the ha'ilem. Do concealment on top of the concealment. Hashem is the creator. You're the co-creator. Do your part. Whatever Hashem did, add to it. And what would be the reason for that? Why would they acquiesce and say, what, that's a great idea? Because the reason was, להגדיל את האמת. In this way, we live in a world that we have to reveal the emet, right? It's either emet or sheker. But by taking something that's concealed, double concealed, triple concealed, 100 times concealed, and bring it out to the light, wow, what a reward, what a sachar it is to get something like that. It's like when you have something that is maybe, something that is covered by a napkin, and you reveal the napkin, and it's right there. Or imagine that you have to dig a mile beneath the earth to find something precious and dig it out. Wow, what a reward when you find something underneath the ground. So they're saying, let's do that. Let's take that super hard work of doing concealment within concealment to reveal the bigger light so we can get a bigger reward. So we see that they had good intentions. It's not that they really sinned. They just wanted to reveal more light from the darkest places. They understand how the world was working. They wanted to emulate God. They wanted to do the exact same thing as God. They wanted to co-create with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this explains how the Arizal says that it's what? That it's Avera L'Shem Shamayim. Now, There's a famous Gemara in Masechet Bereshit. It says, it's very famous. It says, Makom sheba'alei teshuvah umdim, tzadikim gemurim enam umdim. It says that the ba'alei teshuvah, meaning a Jew that went off the path, or that was never even on the path, and then decided to do teshuvah and come back, he's considered on a much higher regard than a tzaddik who's always been in the way of God. Makom sheba'alei teshuvah umdim, tzadikim gemurim enam umdim. Complete tzadikim cannot reach the levels of a Baal Tshuva. Very, very famous Gemara Masechet Bereshit. So Adam and Chava also learned this Gemara. They said, we are the handiwork of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are tzadikim gemurim. We're going to have children. What are they going to be? Tzadikim gemurim. We're going to be perfect people in a perfect world. Boring. They said, what if we sin? And what if our children sin? And then they do teshuvah. What are they going to be? On a much higher level than who we are right now. We're going to be on a much higher level than tzaddikim. So it's either we stay tzaddikim right now and our children be tzaddikim, or we create a scenario where they can be ba'alei teshuvah and they reach a much higher level than tzaddikim. They'll be ba'alei teshuvah. Avera Hashem Shamayim. So this way they're saying more light will be revealed, more darkness will be dispelled, and not only that, there'll be more sachar. We know the reward that the person does when he gets teshuvah. What's the teshuvah? Teshuvah mir'ah, teshuvah me'ahava. We know that teshuvah has tremendous power. We discussed in previous classes. Teshuvah is something that was created before the world was created. It's a concept that's beyond logic. Teshuvah, and they're going to activate this tool of teshuvah to reach ultimate rewards. That if they do teshuvah from Ahava, all their zedonot becomes zchuyot. Instead of being $1 million in debt, you're $1 million in surplus. Somebody does teshuvah be'ahava. They want to activate that. Now, even though that their intentions were good, as the saying says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? This is not what God commanded. Even though that Adam and Chava had the best intentions, this is not what Hashem wanted. This is not what Hashem asked for. This is not what Hashem commanded. And even if it means increasing the good or exalting God's honor, and even if it's going to bring the biggest kiddush Hashem into the world in their mind, if it's not commanded, if it's not warranted, if it's not the will of God, do not do it. If Hashem didn't ask you for it, don't do it. In Sefer Devarim, there's a famous pasuk in Perek Yud Gimel, pasuk Aleph. It says, "Et kol hadavar asher anochi metzaveh etchem, oto tishmeru la'asot." Everything that I've commanded you to do, I want you to keep and I want you to perform it. Lo tosef alav velo tigra mimeno. Don't add to it and don't take away. Don't add 614 mitzvot and don't perform 612. 613 is the magic number. I always said, if you want to imagine, it's like, those old James Bond cases, the attaché cases, like in the 80s, they used to have the code on each side, and you click, and so 614 doesn't open it. 612 doesn't. 613, that opens it. 613 is the magic number. Don't add and don't take away. We say, if you take tariyag, and you add one thing, it becomes tariyad, or in other words, torid. you're going to go down. If you take Taryag and you take away one, it becomes Tariv. You're going to fight. Why? Which one are you going to take away? Do you take away Sukkot? Do you take away Shabbat? Do you take away Rosh Hashanah? Do you take away Kippur? Do you take away fasting? Do you take away what? Do you take away Kashrut? Which one? You start to fight. Tariv. And anyone who wants to add, what, you want to go up? Anyone who adds to 613, but the sof, Tarid. In the end, you're going to go down. 613 is the magic number. Lo tosif velo tigra. Hashem told us, don't add anything. Even no matter what you think, do not add. Even though this is the first time we see that our free will, that our power to choose, even when it seems right, failed us. Here it is. But we've seen it in many other places in history. There's so many, I'm just going to give you a handful, just so you can understand. Shaul HaMelech, a hand-picked king by God. God chose him. Went to war against Amalek, our arch nemesis. We have a mitzvah. One of the Taryag mitzvot is to destroy Zera Amalek. He goes to war, he's winning. He had the chance to annihilate them. No more Amalek. What did Shaul say? You know what? You know what's the best thing that I can do? Look at these fat cows over here. I've never seen cows like this. Look at their size. They look so healthy. I'm going to bring them and I'm going to slaughter them. I'm going to shech them and bring them on the altar in honor of Hashem. Not only that, I'm going to bring their king, Agag, and I'm going to lock him up so everybody can see. What happened? The Amalek, they're sorcerers, they're shapeshifters, they're human beings that turn themselves into animals. So when they brought him into the camp, they looked like animals. As soon as somebody else wasn't looking, they shifted back to people and they ran away. We lost the opportunity to wipe out Zera Amalek. Why? Shaul HaMelech said, well, I bring him as sacrifice on the altar. Who asked you? Who asked you? Agag that you brought, that night he slept with a maiden, and 2 generations later we have Haman Ha'agagi. Haman from the story of Purim, who came from that one night that the king of Amalek was in captivity, and he found a woman to be with her, she got pregnant, and after that her grandson was Haman. We had a chance to wipe out Amalek, but no, Shaul said I have a better idea. Better idea than what Hashem wrote in Taryag Mitzvot. Who asked you? Who asked you to add? Who asked you to take away? Moshe Rabbeinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them, talk to the stone. He hid. Why? Why did you add? Why? Moshe Rabbeinu. Adam HaRishon that we're talking right now. It says, Al tochal mimenu. Specifically from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the creator, the first human being ever. One rule, don't eat from that tree. No, if I eat, I can extract more light from the darkness. Like, why be just a tzaddik, be Baal Tshuva? It's using the thumbs. Who asked you to use the thumbs? Who says that Hashem wanted you to do that? Were you instructed to do that? You came to the, sometimes even the Kedusha, the mind starts to make up things of how it could be better. But is that what the book says? Is that what the rabbi said? Is that what the Torah says? Or did you make up your own Torah? Even though the intentions are good. I couldn't skip out on sharing this additional lesson because we happen to be on this on this parasha. Even the Adama, even the earth, didn't listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because it had cheshbonot. It also had an idea. It says in Perek Aleph, in Pasuk Yud Aleph, it's going to be very, very interesting if you've never heard this Chidush before. It says, ויאמר אלוקים תדשא הארץ דשא עשב מזריע זרע עץ פרי עושה פרי למינו אשר זרעו בו על הארץ ויחם. We're here right now on the third day of creation, Tuesday. And Hashem says, God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, herbage yielding seed, fruit trees yielding fruit, each after its kind, containing its own seed on the earth. And it was so. Right? The next pasuk, ותוצא הארץ דשא, עשב מזריע זרע למינו, ועץ עושה פרי, אשר זרעו בו למינו, ואלוקים כי טוב. Okay. And the earth grows forth vegetation, herbage yielding seed after its kind, and trees yielding fruit, each containing its seed after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Okay. You might have missed the whole chidush over here, but let's highlight it. The first pasuk says that Hashem created a tree that is etz pri oseh pri. It's a tree that creates fruit and makes another fruit, makes another tree. On the second pasuk it says ve'etz oseh pri, that the tree makes only fruit. So I'll explain to you. The original formula was, and Rashi I think brings it, maybe I'll share the Rashi with you, but the main distinction over here is that we have two pasukim. On the first pasuk it says etz pri oseh pri. On the second pasuk it says etz oseh pri. So we have pri one time, and originally we have pri two times. Why the distinction from one pasuk to the other? Rashi tells us that in the beginning of time, maybe I should read it to you. Here it is. Etz pri. Shehiyeh ta'am ha'etz ke'ta'am ha'pri. The bark of the tree had the same flavor as the fruit. So an apple tree, the fruit will taste like an apple, and the bark of the tree will taste an apple. An orange tree, the fruit will taste like an orange, and the tree itself, you bite into it, it's going to taste like an orange. But what happened? The land created trees that just gave fruit, and the tree trunks, as we know today, have no flavor. Why? How did that happen? And you should know that Adam, Chava, and the snake, and the earth got cursed. There were 39 curses in Parashat Bereshit. 10 to the men, 10 to Adam, 10 to Chava, 10 to the snake, and 9 for the earth. Why? They all didn't listen. We'll see. We'll see about that. But let's see, what was the earth thinking? What was the Adamah thinking? I mean, God, your creator, said, make trees that the tree tastes like the fruit and the fruit tastes like the fruit. So, this is a beautiful chidush that I heard from Rabbi Daniel Gladstein, and I'm sharing it because I heard it from him. He brings the Shla Kadosh and Chizkuni. The Shla Kadosh says, again, the same thing like the Arizal thought. Behemet chashva haaretz latova. The earth had good intentions. There it is again, the good intentions. Behemet chashva haaretz latova. Says why? Because the day before, the earth witnessed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created light, and what he did is he took some of that light and he put it away. Ora Ganuz, it's called. And what's this Ora Ganuz? It's a special light that only the righteous will get to benefit from it when, and later on, Ba'atid Lavo, when Mashiach comes, the tzaddikim are going to have this special light that they're going to get to enjoy. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want the Reshaim to benefit from this light. So the Adamah, the earth, is witnessing this and said, me too. I don't want the Reshaim to benefit from my full services, that they can eat my bark and they can eat my fruit. I'll give them the fruit and the Atid Lavo. And in the times of Mashiach, when everything comes back to be perfect again, I'll produce that my bark will be tasty as well, and then only the tzaddikim will get to enjoy it. I don't want the Rishaim to enjoy my flavor as well. Okay. You could say that. You can say that that he has a point, right? The Chizkuni has a different look at it, a different way of seeing it. Says that in the beginning of the parasha, not the beginning of the parasha, the whole there's only one mitzvah in Parashat Bereshit. There's one mitzvah. The first mitzvah of all the mitzvot in Parashat Bereshit is pruvu. Hashem says procreate. So the Chizkuni says Hashem amar pruvu. Since Hashem commanded everyone, whether it's the fruits, the trees, the fish, the birds, the animals, the human beings, Hashem gave the command for everybody to pruvu, to procreate, to multiply. So the earth said, so if they eat the fruit and the bark, how will I have descendants? How will I have my pruvu? Imagine everybody comes, they start eating the trees. Where's my descendants? I can't make any more trees. I'm gone. Then he says, maybe what's a better thing is that I'll do the mitzvah mehadrin. I'll do pruvu. I'll have lots of fruits, but only fruits. The pruvu, that's going to be my mitzvah. I'm going to do nothing but fruits. But me, at least they won't eat me, because how can I perform the mitzvah of priya verivya if I'm not around? So I'll increase the priya verivya and make lots of fruits. And in return, there'll still be lots of trees. So not only there'll be lots of fruits, but also lots of trees. And surely that's what Hashem wants. It's the first mitzvah. And I'm going to do the first mitzvah for, the best way that I can. You know what? It all sounds good. Two very good points. The earth wanted to be just like the light, so the Rishaim don't benefit from it. And then he said also, you know what? I want to perform the mitzvah pruvu the right way. It all sounds very good. But it's not what Hashem said. It's not what Hashem said. Hashem did not say that. You see that we're coming like full circle in a bunch of different scenarios. If it's Adam, Chava, if it's the earth, if it's the trees, if it's Shaul HaMelech, if it's Moshe, if it's Moshe Rabbeinu, we see that all of them had good intentions. All of them thought that they were doing the right thing, but it's not what they were commanded, and it was taken as the wrong thing. It was taken as completely as a sin, as a mistake. We see that bigger and more, not only bigger people than us, but holier people than us. Imagine Adam HaRishon, you know how holy Adam HaRishon was? They made these decisions and they were wrong. Who are we to make these types of decisions? We see that when it comes to religion, in Hebrew they say, Lo la'asot cheshbonot. Don't make your calculations. Nobody asks you to calculate. We have instructions. Follow the instructions. It's like when you're, I don't know if you ever built an IKEA a piece of furniture. You know what they always tell you? Follow the instructions. Don't think you can figure it out. Why? Because just when you finish, there's like 5 pegs, 6 screws, and a couple of things that are still on the side. What happened? Follow the instructions. The same thing in religion. Al tosif v'al tigra. The smartest man to ever live, Shlomo HaMelech, in Kohelet said, Levad ra'a ze matzati asher asa Elokim et ha'adam yashar vehema bikshu cheshbonot habim. What is Pasuk saying? Shlomo HaMelech in Kohelet, he says things that are very, very deep. But the short of the long, he says, Asa Elokim et ha'adam yashar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man straight, black, white, emet, sheker. He created him that way. What happened? As soon as you took Adam Arishon and you added Chava and you added the snake, what happens? Hema. Now it became Adam is not anymore Adam Yashar. Now it became Hema. It became Adam, Chava, and the Nachash. Bikshu Cheshbonot. Bikshu Cheshbonot Rabim. Maybe we do it like this, maybe we do it like that. Why don't you eat? Why don't you take the light out of the darkness? Concealment of darkness. Oh, who asked you? Who asked you to make cheshbonot? Shlomo HaMelech is telling you, Adam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made you straight. Emet sheker, finish. That's what you need to be concerned with. Cheshbonot? What's cheshbonot? I gave you the menu of what you need to do for everything in your life. Al tosif v'al tigra. Now, it's always good to find a way of how this can be connected to our daily lives. It's a beautiful lesson. Who thought about Adam and Chava that we could even see it their way? You know what? Could be. You know, I could see it your way. I could see it your way. Maybe I could see it your way. But at the end of the day, the lesson here is, it's not your way. It's not your Torah. It's God's Torah. You don't tweak it to fit you. You don't tweak it to what you came up with. You have to follow the way that Hashem wanted you to do it. But now, if we look at ourselves, we're literally a few days after the high holiday season. 51 days we were in Shul, Slichot, Teshuvah, Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, Seitim Teshuvah, Sukkot, Simchat Torah, Shmini Atzeret, Isur Chag. Wow! I mean, anybody who was plugged in, you became on a high level. You're like Shaul, you're like Moshe, like Adam, like Shaul HaMelech. Wow, you feel like you're there. And now you might start to do what? Cheshbonot. I'm not the guy from last year. I do, and not only that, you know, when the rabbi tells you, this is the halakha. Say, I understand the halakha, but I do it like this. There's no I do it like this. I got a better way to do it. Oh, that's the way they used to do it back at home. That's the way they used to do it in Russia. That's how they used to do it in Morocco. Over here, I'm going to create my own way. It's all good. It's all good. Believe me, after this last holiday season, believe me, I'm connected. Me and Hashem were like this. You're not going to be more connected than Hashem that created Adam with his own handiwork. You're also cheshbonot. Even if you feel that you've peaked in the past holiday season. Even if we have, we have to be careful. Why do we have to be careful? Because even if we have free choice, and even if we have good intention, oftentimes we put ourselves in danger. History shows. This whole thing of free choice. We're so excited. If I can choose whatever I want. What's so good about it if every time we choose bad? What's so good about free choice if every time we choose, it's the wrong choice? The thing about free choice is that you have that option. But you have to be smart enough to know that with that free choice, you choose the right choice. Not that you have the ability to choose wrong every time. What's the chokhmah? What's the chokhmah there? The whole idea is to have the free choice, but to choose the right thing. Now, don't fall for the Yetzer Hara's plot that he gives you an avera belivush mitzvah. It's a sin, any way you like it, but he dresses it up with tzitziyot and kippot and tzedakot and shabbatot and chagim and halachot and tosfot and Rashi. He makes the avon look 100% or you bet yourself, whatever you want. You have to be careful. He has that power. The Yetzer Hara that, we're not talking about Teshuvah anymore. That was last month's talk. Now we're talking about people that are plugged in. So now we have to talk about what is relevant to now. So now that you're plugged in, now that you're, in the ways of Hashem, you're eating kosher, you're keeping Shabbat, you're studying Torah, the Yetzer Hara says, okay, I got you. I also did my push-ups. While you were in shul, I was also in the Samech Mem gym. You want to go, you know now how the Ilchot Netilat Yadayim, you know the Ilchot of Shabbat. Good, I'm going to come to you with Ilchot Netilat Yadayim. Netilat Yadayim. You have to be careful from that Yetzirah. The Yetzirah that mechaseh da'avira belibush mitzvah. And even if the intention is L'Shem Shamayim, because that's when he comes. Even when you want to do, this is for Hashem, and your heart is filled with fervor to serve Hashem the right way, be careful. Is that what the Chumash says? Is that what the Halakha says? You're not sure? Call your rabbi. Rabbi, is this allowed? Not allowed. Allowed? Good. Do it. Not allowed? Stop right there. Don't say, you know what, let me call a different rabbi. A different rabbi will give me the okay. Aseh lecha rav, v'istalek min hasafek. Also, in this week's parasha, there's another rule that you must know. You must know about the Yetzirah. Lapetach chatat rovetz. He's always going to be there when we want to start something. The first thing that you do in anything, your first encounter is going to be him. You want to start a diet, you want to go to the gym, you want to start a business, you want to become more religious, you want to eat more kosher, you want to learn more. Every time you want to take that first step towards bettering yourself, he's going to be right there to try to talk you out of it. How? Depends on your spiritual level. If you're not connected, he's going to tell you, who needs Judaism? Who needs religion? Let me show you the better life. If you are connected, he's going to tell you, okay, but you want to go learn. He's going to build with this rabbi or with that rabbi. You know what? I know there's a new guy that's coming next week. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe we'll go to that next town. Or you know what? Maybe when we move, he starts to give you, just like pushing you off, giving you all the excuses. He's always going to be there to talk you out of it. And he is more religious than you. And he knows more halachot than you. He knows more Torah than you. That's the Yetzirah that we have to watch out for after the Teshuvah season. Where he dresses the mitzvot, and he dresses the avirot in the belivush mitzvah. One last point, and this will conclude. Notice that what happened with the tree is curiosity, right? We have a fact. Don't touch it, you get killed. Yet what happened? Still I'm curious. What is it? What's this tree? What does it do? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Curiosity is very dangerous sometimes. Because the curiosity of the forbidden, the things that we're not supposed to be dealing with, brings people straight to their mistake. A lot of people think, no, I could withstand the challenge of my curiosity because I'm holy, I'm strong, I go to shul 3 times a day, I study every single day 5 hours, I have 2 rabbis, you should see my wife, she's covered from head to toe, our house is wrapped up in silver foil all year round, I'm the most religious guy in the world. So what are you doing on the internet looking at those things? No, just to see what the other guys were challenged with. What are you doing in that place? Oh, just to see what the other person is doing so I can help him out. The curiosity. Some people say, no, you know what? I have to go there to see how I can help the other person. I have to understand what to stay away from. I don't know what it is, but if I look at it, I know that if it comes around, I'll never stay away from it. In other words, you take yourself to the place of danger in order to teach yourself what not to do. But in reality, you took yourself to the place of danger. That's what it says. Now that you're here, now that we're talking, all right? Now that we're talking, let me talk to you some more. And that's what he does. Don't trust yourself in those situations. Don't trust yourself that you could withstand that challenge. Just don't go there. What's allowed, what's not allowed? It's in the book. What's a green light? What's a red light? What's a yellow light? It's in the book. You don't take chances. Curiosity, oftentimes, just from the track record, statistically, doesn't work out good for us. Even to the biggest tzaddikim in our history. Even when we feel that, you know what, if I go to, it's like, you have people that know, so many Jews are going to the nightclubs. So many people are smoking marijuana. Oh, so many people are going to these things. You know what? I'm going to go over there and extract them. I'm going to go over there and take them out. What happens? 5 months later, you see it. He cut off his peot. The hat became a baseball cap, and he's sitting there with them. Hey, you think he's so powerful that you can do that? Even though that I did hear of the rabbi, the disco rabbi in Israel, that he would go on Friday night to the discos, and he would sit on the middle of the dance floor, and they said they would turn down the music and he would do a shiur. One in I don't know, in the millions, somebody like that. Bigger and better than us have failed, which only means that you just learn from their mistakes. Learn that we don't take those chances. We don't become curious. We don't get into the conversation with the Yetzer Hara. There's only one way to stay safe. In the ways of Hashem, in the ways of the Torah, and Aseh Lecharab V'Yistalek Min HaSafek. If you follow the ways of Hashem, you're good. If every time you're checking the book to say which way to go, you're good. And if you still can't find the answer, you have a rabbi that you can call to, Aseh Lecharab, he'll give you the answer, V'Yistalek Min HaSafek. And that's how you live a life. That's Jewish life. That's how you stay away from trouble. That's the lesson that we can extract from the original sin, because sometimes even the worst sin in the world can have good intentions. And like we said, the good intentions were dressed up, and even till now I could still even a little bit feel and understand each person that failed, what was his reasoning. But the lesson is, it's not what Hashem commanded. Period. Hashem varech atkhem v'sameach atkhem. Good to see you again. Nice to start a 5th cycle of our learning. Bereshit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and Hashem continue.